Thursday evening class, and seeing as we have all familiar faces today, I would like to invite you to sit for some meditation now, and we'll sit for about 45 minutes. So let's make a start on our meditation together. But before we do so, we need to make sure our body is as comfortable as possible. Closing our eyes very gently, we settle into a comfortable position. A position by which we feel relaxed, whether we're on a chair or on a cushion. Ideally, we'd place our hands palm upwards in our lap. But in practice, we can rest our hands in whatever way feels soothing to us. And the way we close our eyes is only just enough to stop our surroundings from being a visual distraction. There's no need to close our eyes tightly, just enough that our eyelashes touch lightly together, and so that we feel relaxed and calm. You'll find that if we can close our eyes properly, then every other part of our meditation will fall automatically into place. Because in essence, meditation is about relaxing and getting comfortable the way we like it. And we notice that if we are fully relaxed, just by the way it feels to us subjectively. Then we'll be the one who's able to tell, because no one else can know better than us. If we are completely comfortable, then we'll know we've got it exactly right. But in the meantime, we relax our forehead, our face and jaw. We relax our shoulders, arms, trunk, abdomen, and our legs. We make sure we're completely relaxed all the way from the top of our head, right the way down to the soles of our feet. And we can take our time to make sure that we are properly relaxed. And there's no need to rush in this respect. Having relaxed our body, we can turn our attention to relaxing the mind. For now, we let go of any worries and thoughts, perhaps of the responsibilities in our lives, putting them to one side, at least for the time being. To allow us to relax and to let our mind make its journey inward, at least for a while, allowing it to be relaxed and neutral and free of any worries. And while we're relaxing ourselves, as we get used to resting our mind, we take a few moments to check in with ourselves, to make sure we're fully relaxed, calm and content. Or whether our attention has become distracted, wandering perhaps to other things we have in our mind. At the same time, we check ourselves for any residual tension or drowsiness that may have crept into our meditation. Or whether we have any other feelings, any other thoughts that may be holding us back from a sense of peace, calm or relaxation, or holding us back from a feeling of purity within ourselves. For now, all we need to do is just let go of those obstacles, tensions, wandering thoughts, or any drowsiness. And before long, our mind will softly and gently, almost automatically, return to where it feels it likes, to where it's balanced and relaxed, without us having to do anything much at all. Nothing more than simply maintaining this feeling and this sense of calm and relaxation. Whatever happens, we just let it be and let it go, allowing our mind to start to feel the flow of positive energy and purity that arises from within. Eliminating any shadows, drawing back the veil that obscures the subconscious. And often with meditation, the way the true nature of the mind reveals itself is rather like the moon breaking free of the clouds in the night sky, restoring to us an all-round inner vision. But to achieve this, all we need to do is just remain neutral and relaxed, allowing us to travel inward, further and deeper, becoming purer and clearer in our view of the world, while attracting peace energy into our lives, gathering up abundance in the things we need, simply by being still, without needing to do anything, but remain at peace in every moment. And if at this point you find that your mind is still unable to settle, you might need to conjure up some sort of anchor for the mind. Perhaps an image such as a crystal sphere, somewhere inside the body, wherever you feel comfortable. The image itself doesn't need to be clear as long as you feel it right there. It's okay. And if we're able to maintain this inner vision, before long we'll start to feel light in weight. We'll start to feel inwardly illuminated. And we'll start to notice that even with our eyes closed, it no longer seems dark inside us. And we'll find that whatever happens in our meditation, no need to pay too much attention to the detail. You simply relax and let go. Keeping in touch with the sensation of positive energy flowing through us, cleansing our body and mind. And this inner flow comes together with a sense of happiness, flourishing, a sense of being nourished from the inside by a happiness that is of a nature that we would want to share it with others. So for now we make the most of our quiet time, maintaining our mind free of worry, maintaining that sense of comfort and peace within ourselves, together with that flow of relaxation from the inside. Each to their own practice in silence for a few more moments now, until we come to the appropriate time. And if your mind wanders off onto other things, each time you realize, simply bring your attention back again to the center of your body as before, bringing it back for as many times as it takes to build up that sense of continuity at the center of yourself. If the inner object disappears, you can conjure up a new one. But if it changes, then we just follow it in its new form. If thoughts arise in the mind, we do our best to ignore them. If they're too persistent to ignore, we might make use of the traditional mantra, hearing the sound of the words Samma Arahang, Samma Arahang, Samma Arahang, over and over again in the mind, with the source of the sound coming out from the center of ourselves. And this gradual training of our attention to bring the focus back to the center each time can be thought of as a sort of exercise for the mind. Often the mind is something that we give up on too easily, thinking it's a lost cause that we can never make a change to. By building up a new set of habits in the mind, though, we can train the mind to engage more deeply with a sense of happiness from inside, to start to channel a sense of fulfillment in life, simply by taking a few minutes of each day to meditate and reconnect with this sense of positivity on the inside. And simply by sacrificing a few moments of each day, we'll be able to discover many of the benefits of meditation that are much broader than the qualities that arise directly from it. The way meditation benefits the mind is rather like the way a computer benefits from defragmenting the hard drive, in the way it consolidates and streamlines the information in the mind, reducing the flakiness and speeding up our access. Meditation tends to have a positive impact in our lives wherever it's most needed, because there's hardly any part of our lives that doesn't involve the use of the mind in one way or another. Because the mind is so central in everything that we do in our lives. And the regular practice of meditation can have huge ramifications for the good in our lives. There's no real need to focus on a particular area we need to improve, because one way or another, meditation will fill in the things we lack. And meditation isn't really about becoming a different person or a new person or even a better person. It's more about training the awareness and understanding how and why we think and feel the way we do, while getting a healthy sense of perspective in the process. more we meditate, the more it shows us the way to be okay with the way we are right now and how we feel. And this sort of self-awareness that comes as a byproduct of meditation allows us to be fully present in the moment, undistracted. The buzzword that we usually hear relating to meditation, as we apply it in our waking life, is usually the word mindfulness. Because the quality of mindfulness contrasts with mostly how we live our lives, which is to be constantly caught up in all the little and big thoughts and feelings, constantly being critical or judgmental of ourselves or others. And it's usually when we're caught up in all the little things that we start to make mistakes. There's those mistakes that can affect our performance, whether it be at work or in our relations to others. So successful meditation would be more about the direct experience of the present moment. But how exactly we use that present moment comes down to ourselves. What meditation means to us or how we purpose it is down to our own experience of the meditation. It's not something else which anyone else can define for you, any more than they could make you understand the taste of an exotic food by telling you about it secondhand. So in order to get to why meditation is special, we need to practice it for ourselves. We need to familiarize ourselves with the methodology and the subjective experience of meditation in the here and now, until we can touch upon the defining aspects of meditation for ourselves. So in this respect, we sit for meditation for a few moments longer, returning again and again to the best of our meditation at the center of ourselves for a few more moments in silence until we come to time for some loving-kindness meditation. So as we draw towards the end of our meditation, we take a few moments to re-engage with that sense of positive energy, that tide of relaxation on the inside, to reconfirm that we still feel calm and contented, still feeling the flow and the sense of brightness from within. And at this point we might bring to mind the warm, fuzzy feeling we associate with doing good things in our lives that we are proud of. We allow these feelings to coalesce into a bright, clear sphere at our center, conjuring up a sense of gratitude in our lives, gratitude for all the opportunities we have to reconnect with this sense of relaxation and the possibility of a haven of peace within our body and within our mind. A refuge of peace within ourselves. And engaging with that feeling of gratitude, we notice that the inner feeling of peace that arises has its roots in the sense of relaxation and contentment, allowing our mind and our awareness to be gradually clarified and purified as time goes on, without us having to actually do anything at all or worry about anything. All we need to do is to allow that positive energy to flow within ourselves, together with an affirmation for ourselves to be happy, healthy, wealthy, successful, fulfilled in our good wishes, free from illness, danger, misfortune, and to be surrounded by loved ones who are wise and virtuous. So we take a few moments to bring to mind positive affirmations for our own lives, allowing the peace energy to become even brighter and clearer, purified through the meditation. And extending that sense of gratitude outwards into our network of friends. We realize how many of the opportunities in our own lives have come from those around us. So even while we are comfortably ensconced in the accumulated peace energies, we share our loving kindness and peace energy for those we love, our family and friends, or towards whom we wish to express gratitude. We might picture them and share the feeling and the positive energy with all of them. Even if it's just with a gentle intention, it will be enough. Allowing the energy from within to flow towards them. We might start by sharing within the room where we're sitting for meditation. But if the peace energy flows further, then we allow it to spread outwards beyond the building, outwards into the neighborhood. And wherever it goes, dispelling any misfortune, sadness, sorrow, or danger for all within its path. Together with the affirmation that all sentient beings within the compass of our loving kindness be well and happy, free from suffering, fulfilled in their wishes, free from sadness, sorrow, or danger. We allow this radius of our loving kindness to spread ever outwards in a widening circle. The whole country, continent, across the whole world, and outwards into the universe. Wherever it goes, extending loving kindness, peace energy, without borders, without limits, infinitely for the benefit of all living beings, for the last few moments of our meditation together. Sapphe Buddha Palapata Pajjekanan Yam Balang Arahandanan Te Jena Arakam Bandami Sapaso Sappaputtanupavena Sappadhammanupavena Sappasangkhanupavena Sattha Soti Bhavantu Te. So if you'd like to come to the end of your meditation for this evening, you can gradually open your eyes again. If you feel at all uncomfortable, then slowly try changing to a more comfortable position before gradually finishing your practice. Well, it's been a while since I last saw you. At my reckoning, it's been 2 weeks since you got the first half of this particular talk about not leaving one's work undone. If you recall, we are gradually working our way through the blessings of the Mangala Sutta, which concern family harmony. And having gone into probably much too much detail about looking after our parents, children, husband, wife, tagged on the end of all that is the fact that for a family to enjoy harmony, there needs to be a sense of financial security. And this often means being quick off the mark to earn one's living, or at least not to beat about the bush in earning one's living, to seize the day and go out and make sure you have the ability to stand on your own 2 feet, financially speaking. And last time I saw you, as a little bit of a reminder, we had fun things like panic monsters and various other numbskulls in our head which caused prevarication in our lives. And we did a good job, I think, of identifying some of the things which cause us to and not to get on with a job, even though we know it needs doing. So we set it up to see all the downside of prevarication last time, and hopefully today we can move on with some strategies to overcome prevarication in life, especially when I explained that many of the important things in our lives don't seem to have a deadline attached to them. Things like meditation, things like doing good things for the relationships in our lives, or really doing things that define our lives or give meaning to our lives, make us feel proud of our lives. They are not things where we can just pin a deadline on them. So much of the received knowledge from management isn't going to help us very much to get that sense of urgency, perhaps, that we need to do the things that are important in our lives. So today perhaps we can look at some of the strategies for non-prevarication, both in the worldly ways, which I've talked about, which might affect us financially, but also on a spiritual level of meaning in life as well, so that we can focus on the things that bring meaning in life. So, strategies for non-prevarication. As we said, we don't believe that anyone is a lazy person. But there are certain things that get in the way of people getting that sort of momentum that they need to really sort things out in life. And some of the things which are mentioned are people lacking the ability to do things at the appropriate time, in the appropriate way, or get started in the first place, or have a sense of being enthusiastic and conscientious. And from the Buddhist scriptures, there's a part of the scriptures called the Samyutta Nikaya, where there is a scripture called the Alavaka Sutta, which talks a lot about the different qualities which are required to get any particular task done. The first is known as approaching work in the appropriate way, sometimes known in the Pali language as patirupa gari, where you need to put into practice all the knowledge and craftsmanship which you've learned in blessings number 7 and number 8, and to realize that when you're new to a job, then you need to learn from any mistakes. You shouldn't make the same mistakes, if at all possible, more than once. Yeah, no one would blame you for making a mistake once, but the thing is to learn from it quickly so that you don't repeat it. So that's how to go about doing it in the appropriate way. The second thing is to having the willingness to work and to challenge your own previous abilities, which is known in Pali language as durawa. And this may mean that, however humble the task is that you are working on, you should never look down on it as it's somehow beneath you or your skill set. A person who's really skilled can make a good job of anything, no matter how humble. The third one is that you need to have a certain level of keenness and quickness, liveliness perhaps, in the way that you work. And this in Pali language is known as uttata. And if you have the tendency to, let's say, lethargy, then maybe you need to take up a sport. So, is there a recipe for success in our worldly lives? And again, Buddhism does provide quite a lot of guidance in this respect, in the form of a four-step set of qualities which you need to bring to any task which you do, even if it's your work job or your day job. They're known, they come from the Digha Nikaya's Sangiti Sutta, and sometimes they're known as the four foundations of power or four foundations of success. The technical name for them in Pali is Itipatha, so they give you power, or they're the 4 feet of power. So I'll come back to the spiritual applications because they can also be applied to that as well. We'll come back to that in just a moment. But the very first thing which you need is what's known as initial motivation or chanta. Often you hear in Buddhism, you mustn't have any attachment to anything. But there are certain sorts of attachment which are good for you. And in such a case, they are not known by the name of greed or desire, but they are known by the word chanta, which means moving towards something which is beneficial in the long term for you. So you might equate it with a sense of willingness or getting down to do the work. And without this, you would never make a start. So you need to sort of conjure up the mood, first of all, in order to make the first step towards doing the work. So you haven't actually done the work yet, but you've conjured up the willingness to do it. Yeah? Chanta. After that comes the next step, which is known as initial application, which you might refer to in Pali as viriya, or if you come to meditation, it might be known as vitakka. So what it tells you is that having conjured up the motivation to do something, you let out the clutch and you actually apply yourself to do the work in the proper way. And starters, you mean to go on. So often this means striking the right balance between productivity and enjoyment. Not just work, 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 but you need to enjoy it as you're going along. The third one is what's known as sustained application, which in Pali might be referred to as citta, or in the context of meditation as vichara. It means that starting out well is not enough, but you need to somehow sustain the effort. Pace yourself. It takes practice. If you're new to, let's say, swimming, you might feel awkward or unskilled on the first day at the pool, have lots of aches and pains, but if you keep it up little by little, one day you might become an Olympic champion. And the important thing in this respect is you need to keep on going until you complete whatever task it is. So have that, be able to pace yourself to reach completion. And last but not least, there's what's known as retrospective analysis, or vimamsa, which means that you need to look back over the task you've done each time in order to give yourself feedback by looking for even better or more efficient ways to do it, the same task the next time round. And remedy any weaknesses you have as quickly as possible so they don't impede you next time you come to do the same thing again. And even if you have success in your task, it shouldn't stop you analyzing, going back over it so that you can repeat next time round. Often we're so flushed with our success that we forget to ask how we managed to do it. which means that we fail to replicate that next time round. So if you can follow these 4 simple principles, then in your professional life, you will find that success will be just around the corner. In terms of spiritual work, sometimes it's not obvious that there's a task there to be done at all. But as meditators, we start to realize the state which our mind is in, especially once we start to work on it in meditation, until we realize that the mind in itself is a task to be mastered. Yeah? And according to the Buddha, I quote the Akamaniya Sutta, he said there's great danger in neglecting the work of taming our mind. And he said, I do not perceive even one other thing that, when left undeveloped and uncultivated, entails such great suffering as the mind. Because the mind, when undeveloped and uncultivated, entails great suffering. So it would therefore appear that just as we ought to be able to apply the Ittipata in our working lives as a recipe for success, then equally energetically we ought to be able to apply those Ittipata to working with our mind to improve the quality so that we don't neglect it and end up with suffering as a result. So how do we do this? Well, we can apply the Ittipata recipe also to working with the mind, and this may be something that you've heard of previously from other monks who have been sitting here, sometimes known as the 4 C's, sometimes known as 5, depends on how you divide them up. Familiar? No? Wow, you look like you're concentrating very hard, so maybe it is new to you. They all start with a C, although I might need to explain a little bit what they all mean. But for ease of remembering, you can start with conducive, then you can move on to comfort, conscious, and then consistent and checking. And this is how we have applied our Ittipata, or the 4-step recipe for success, to working with the mind. So to come to the first of these, conduciveness. Just now we had the willingness to do the job, to do the task. Yeah? Meditation is no different, because we also need to have a sense of willing to cultivate ourselves. Rather than waiting for the inclination to meditate to accidentally arise, you need to look for ways to put yourself in the mood to meditate. So you might generate enthusiasm by, let's say, reading up on the benefits of meditation, or perhaps seeking out a nearby meditation group so you feel embarrassed if you don't do your meditation because everyone else is like doing it. And if you're meditating at home, then you might take some special trouble to create the ideal conditions to meditate in, ones that you have tested out in the past, that will put you in the right sort of mood, the best time of day, the most conducive activity beforehand, like maybe taking a shower or doing some exercise, or maybe even creating a conducive corner for your meditation at home, or investing in an especially comfortable meditation cushion. Yeah? Conducive. C for conducive. From there we can move on to the next one, which is a sort of double C in a way. Initial application, as it's applied to the mind, is a balance between 2 particular C's, C for comfort and C for conscious. In other words, we need to maintain focus in our meditation alongside a feeling of comfort. So focus is like sort of somehow harder, putting the mind on whatever it needs to focus on, whereas comfort has a sense of being able to be sustainable and more gentle. So you need to find your sweet spot to keep yourself in the zone of the meditation. Focus in our meditation goes alongside the sense of comfort, and sometimes they have defined comfort as accepting yourself as you are. That's probably the best way to describe it. It can be achieved by physical relaxation. It can also be achieved by a sense of mental comfort and gentleness. But if you get too comfortable, then you will fall asleep. So there needs to be a sense of balance. Keeping that sense of consciousness needs focus, which you would use by having some sort of object in your meditation, visualization, mantra. If you have no focus, then you're just gone into the comfort. Sometimes it's being compared, this balance between the two, as like a dirt road. I'll give you some metaphors. Because for as long as you stay on the road with the two twin tracks, you don't slip off it, even if it's four-wheel drive, then you don't need to call out the tractor. Yeah? So all you need to do is stay on the road. Don't let yourself slip off or out of balance. And comfort and conscious will be held and sustainable. Another way is to think of it as twin tracks on a railway, where you need to maintain a sense of balance hand in hand between the two. And being able to keep that up gives you your fourth C, which is consistent. So we had sustainable, seeing it through to completion. How can you keep yourself on the track continuously without letting yourself slip off and having to get the tractor out? Well, it's keeping that, adjusting constantly in your meditation to keep that going. This is what's meant by consistency, which will be the fourth step of the third step of the four here. Sometimes it can be aided by having a sense of routine in your life. So doing it at the same time every day helps you establish that consistency in your practice. Sometimes it can be to do with maintaining mindfulness outside your practice so that you can keep that same consistent balance between comfort and conscious going even outside your practice, so that it becomes something you can do all day long. And I probably don't need to remind you that that's the sort of thing which retreats are very good for, to be able to build up that sense of consistency. And the components of that, if you imagine the rail tracks just now, we can now imagine them as a red and a yellow rail track. And this is a little diagram which they've used a lot in our main temple recently, to say that the red is the ease or the comfort, the yellow is the focus or the conscious. So what we do is, every time we meditate, we take our mind and we place it with the blue cross. It can be at the center of your body, it can be somewhere else in your body that feels comfortable. But from there, then we need to maintain the two together. Comfort, conscious, consistently. Not to slip off the track, but there are lots of things trying to pull us off the track. And we need to be prepared the whole time to readjust our balance every time we come across, let's say, sleepiness or distraction. Then that's going to try and pull us off in the direction of too much comfort. Yeah? On the other side, we've got things trying to pull us off the track, which are tension, trying too hard. Or sometimes it's preempting, for those of us who've had a good meditation experience in the past and we want to recreate it somehow. We're thinking, oh, it's getting good in our meditation. In fact, that's grasping after results. So, one way or another, they're trying to pull you off the track. Yeah. But if you can keep it going, keep within the zone, keep in your sweet spot continuously, at some point you will get the point where the penny drops in your meditation, which is what's known in the white circle there as some sort of inner experience arising. So that is 3 of the 4 so far in meditation. Leaves us with 1 more, which is, I should mention, what should you do if you find yourself pulled off the track, apart from getting the tractor out? They say there's no harm in resetting in your meditation practice, which means if you find you're too far off the track, just place your mind and start again. And you might think, after all the trouble I've taken so far, but don't think like that. It's better to just reapproximate to the path. And if you do that, then very soon you'll find yourself staying on the path, rather than just sort of persevering when you've gone completely off the track. Yeah? So, finally, there's the 1 more element of the recipe for success, which is checking, which you might explain as retrospective analysis, which means going back over your meditation after you finish the practice to ask yourself, could I have done it better? Where did I go right? Where did I go wrong in the meditation? And try to incorporate the successes of your meditation into future practices. So this is completing the quality control loop of your meditation in just the same way you would have quality control in what you do in your workplace. And that would be the 4 C's, or the 5 C's as I put it here, according to meditation practice. If you don't remember anything else on meditation practice, please try to remember that. Very important. Otherwise you can spend years waiting for a tractor to come. So, we looked at some of the problems of waiting for things to happen. And as I mentioned in the first half of this lecture, the Buddha was of the belief that if everything is set to start to do a task, that in itself is a good enough reason to get on with it. You don't need to wait for your lucky stars to appear in the sky to get down to doing it. Otherwise, then you may miss opportunities that really you deserve. And there's a funny story from the scriptures about someone who was very superstitious, and they were about to get married. And you will remember that one of the reasons that people put things off is that they're waiting for their horoscope to come through or whatever. Another reason was that people are too drunk to remember what they're doing. Yeah? You remember? And this is a story about someone getting married, okay? And they were they were a strong believer in getting married at the right time so that their marriage would last. And you might think, oh, that sounds really archaic, but this is actually from a newspaper last month in India, and it's apparently still happening. Bride marries a relative at altar after drunk groom fails to turn up on time. So basically they marry someone else instead. India, they're really, really good about this. Why waste all the money from the wedding reception? Just like get her married to someone else. And she was fine with that. He didn't want to marry some drunk anyway. As now, it was then as well. And the story about a man who lived in a town called Savatthi, and he intended to marry a lady from the same city. And having fixed the day to come and fetch the bride, he subsequently consulted a fortune teller who was familiar with his family as to whether the stars were right and favorable for holding the wedding festival that day. And the fortune teller was not happy because, according to the fortune teller's feeling, really he should have been asked first. So he thought he would get his own back on this guy, and he said, the day which you fixed for the wedding is not going to work out. The nuptials should not be celebrated on that day. Great misfortune would come of it. And the man was so scared, because he believed everything the fortune teller said, he decided not to turn up for his own wedding. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, the bride and all her friends were waiting in the town hall, I suppose, with all the wedding reception already organized and paid for, and the groom's family didn't turn up. So the bride waited and waited, and her family thought, well, it was the groom who decided the wedding date, and they've still not come. So we've gone to quite a lot of expense, because normally it comes on that side of the family, right? Let's find someone else to marry our girl to. So they got another bridegroom, happened to be one they prepared earlier, and they got him married with all the festivities which they'd already prepared. And the bride took the whole dowry in compensation for the groom having broken the marriage contract. So in India they have nice things like that. And on the new date, which the fortune teller had given the unsuccessful groom, the groom turned up and they said, oh, why have you come? You country folk are a bad lot. You fixed the day yourselves, and they insulted us by not coming. So sorry, we've married the bride to someone else. So this is the origin of the Buddha's advice that readiness itself is all you need to propitiate success in any activity. So you don't need a fortune teller to tell you whether success will be achieved or not on a certain date. And if you do persist in superstitious beliefs, then you, like the gullible groom, might lose everything you had prepared for. So for today, I will just finish off with a few announcements. Things you don't already know. Next full moon, after our nice event on the May full moon day, I'm not sure we'll be able to match up to that one again, but certainly we will have a in-person as well as online Strawberry Moon celebration, which will be on Tuesday, the 14th of June, and which happens to fit with our normal Tuesday class anyway. But if you would prefer to follow that online, then it's with all the usual Zoom details as well. We're still accepting applications for the European Monk Program, which will take place at the beginning of June. 2 weeks of training in Denmark, and after that then the monks are sent back to their home temple to finish up for the remainder of the month if they wish to do so as well. Also, we are progressing rapidly in our preparations for the retreat down in Somerset, and there is a special early bird rate for those who sign up early for that retreat and pay in advance as well. So for today, I think that's all I would like to leave you with, but if there are any questions, comments or feedback at this point, I'd be happy to hear from you. May all of you be blessed with happiness, success, and prosperity in life, and have the courage and the inspiration to see every task, both in worldly or spiritual ways, to completion with ease in every way.